Hello, friends, and welcome de Tuquiendes, de Femioses, de Pipleoples. Me llamo, es host Eric, and tonight's live stream is titled Cognitive Function Fun. Why? Because we're going to have so much cognitive function fun tonight that it's going to make you say we with an H. We. Which is, of course, the sound that one makes when one is having amazing fun. That's wrong, Ragwad Alawad. Raghead, that's wrong. It's the H is where Mike Hart has it. Mike Hart got it right. We. And there are 3 E's ideally. Yeah. You can get away with 2. I think I used 2. But probably Mike Hart really corrected me there. I should use 3. Isaiah Rude, that is wrong. It's not woohoo. It's we. I'm not saying this live stream won't elicit some woohoos. It probably will. But those are ancillary to its central thesis, which is that it will elicit wheeze. Okay, with an H. Whee. Okay. Yeah, well, that's why it's in the wrong spot. It's supposed to be in the dominant slot or in polar. Those are the only 2 spots that are acceptable. My any hammer. Problem with an any hammer is it keeps changing into a screwdriver and a circular saw and everything else. Raghead Alawad. Are you a troll? I knew that already. I did say hammer. If a rhino and an elephant had a baby, what would you call it? A rhino elephant or an elephino? A halifino. It's hilarious, Alexander Hansen. Jim B. Hello. Hello to you. Hello. Halifino. Halifino is pretty good. But I like the tsk. Anyway, right now we're having cognitive function fun. For everybody who's ever had fun or is currently having fun, you did so using a cognitive function. Which one? Extroverted fun. That's which one. Elefino, Elefido. Sounds like the lyrics to a Nirvana song. Eric, would you agree to coffee with your ex if you knew she just wanted to get back together and you don't want to lead her on? No. Well, I mean, if you're not with somebody currently, then still no. But if you are with somebody currently, then definitely no. Thanks, Isaiah Rude. Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot for telling me that thing I said was that thing it was. I didn't. Maybe it was. Okay, so I'm having a lot of fun with cognitive functions right now. You're having a lot of fun with cognitive functions right now. And if you're like any normal person, then you're currently, wee. Hi, Stinky Poopy. I've heard a rumor that your poopy is stinky. Is it true? What's SI look like in the 3rd slot? Well, I would say you got to remember that let me tell you all the things that are sort of factually so about it. It functions as an absolute value, but it's sort of selfishly applied as an absolute value, which is to say you'd like to be the recipient of it. You like for it to serve you, and you are fairly selfish about it. So while an ISFJ might, as I drive away from the house, remind me where it is I'm going, because she's learned that I always forget where I'm going. 3rd slot SI won't do that. 3rd slot SI serves itself and not anybody else. And additionally, one can say about 3rd slot SI is that it means you've got extroverted intuition as a tool function, and you've got extroverted sensing as your polar. So when you're talking about 3rd slot SI, the reason why the INFP or INTP has SE polar has to do with the fact they have third slot SI. It's of absolute value to know things experientially. So what's not going to be particularly meaningful? Doing things experientially. Knowledge and doing are on the same axis. And when you prioritize SI, which is to say the experiential knowing function, as an absolute value, like a wallow value, you might call it, you enjoy wallowing in it, then you're not going to be able to have a very clear understanding of the unconscious half of the thing, because you have a very unnuanced understanding of the conscious half of it to begin with. And last in your, I guess, attentional priority schema is the seventh slot. So the other thing I'd say about third slot is third slot SI wants to construct a narrative about the self that comprises a series of singular packages of meaning that are consistent with what the INTP or INFP would like themselves to be. So whereas an INTP will make a million different videos and forget what he made and do a terrible job of keeping track of it, an INTP wants to make 10 videos but have them all really good and stand out and be perfect or whatever. That also has to do with SE polar. If you're very concerned about how each piece of experiential knowledge looks in your experiential knowledge museum inside of your head, then you're cautious about extrovertedly sensing, doing more stuff, because you know it's going to put an SI thing on display in your SI memory, and you want to make sure it's a good thing. You don't want it to be a bad thing at all, because that's going to loom a lot larger in your mind than it will in mine as fourth slot SI. My mother is inside the house right now. Important question. Which type has the strongest erections? Good question. Well, if other types are like me personally, then the answer to the question is it varies somewhat, depending on how horny you are, mostly. Sometimes I can use my erection to knock down a bank vault door, for example, or poke a hole in it. But other times, it's more like poking a hole in toast would be a challenge, It depends how far along I am in the process, too, obviously. Dominant FI hardens up your dick with pure emotion. I have noticed that FI makes me horny. For sure, FI makes me horny. What type would most likely to fail to perform in the public urinal? NTPs of both kinds. Also, probably most likely to have some sort of like psychological potency issue. It's just purely psychological. It may be one reason why NTPs are relationship, because then those like performance fears go away pretty quick when you're in a relationship. If you're in a good one. What do you mean when you describe FI as magic? I describe it as magic because, I guess because I understand it so poorly, primarily, is why I describe it as magic. When I'm saying that experientially, what I mean is that it's opened up an awareness in me of when and how I feel sort of ontologically hungry in some way that I can't quite identify, that is heretofore I've always poured into making more stuff. But for the last, I don't know, a few weeks or whatever, I've increasingly find myself seeking out Rachel and FI as a remedy to that, rather than just tweaking out and making more stuff. What's FI 8 slot like? Well, it's instrumental. It's purely instrumental. I got everybody's 8th slot function, which means it's not an absolute value. You do not, if you have 8th slot FI, you don't value it in and of itself. but you use it appropriately, which is to say, in support of your dominant function. So, how does FI support TI? It's easy to see how TI supports FI. FI has an arbitrary desire or want claim it wants to make, and TI comes up with some reasons for it. But how is it that it works the other way around? You have TI dominant and FI. How is it that FI can be instrumental to TI? Well, I mean, I think what that means is that INTPs, ISPs use their FI to constrain the scope of their TI to things that matter to them. That's one way in which you're talking about. And it's like that's instrumental because it helps the TI to be more successful in its determination. Which female type has the strongest directions? Tough question, Mike Hart. Probably ESTP, but I've never been with one. It seems scary. I just saw the beginning of this video where this mofo was talking about how his 4.0 GPA at Harvard was a failure. Huh. Well, by which standard is he judging success and failure? No, you just reply to them directly. Once they start communicating with you, then they should not communicate with me. Ideally, we'll get them directly emailing me. I don't like to have to respond to emails. That's hard. I only sometimes look at email. And, I have this motto, Isaiah Rude: never, never, never quit avoiding your email. Okay? Never, never, never quit. Never. No matter what. Like, let's say you're drinking 2 handles of gin a day. You're such an alcoholic. Never quit. Never, never, never. That's being a quitter. Yes, you can. What are some easy ways to tell sensing over intuiting? Sensors, well, some you can't tell for sure, but you can tell some kind of sensors pretty straightforward. Like STJs and SFJs, you can kind of tell in general by what kind of shit they talk about. STJs, they talk about what they did. SFJs, they talk about what they did. They talk about who they saw. It's been risque for you. Are you sure it hasn't been risky? Would you be interested in collaborating on a song? I've noticed a lot of your stuff doesn't have lead guitar, and I think it'd be cool to play something everyone. Sure, Alexander Hansen, no problem. I found that phone I lost. It's been lost for like a month and a half or something. It's in my briefcase. I'm a dumb man sometimes. Just idiotic. Bit of both. Okay. Well, I'm just saying, you can be paid. It's not even being paid to complain about the guy. That's what I was saying to him. It's like, what's your freaking standard? Jesus. Would ditching tests be realistic education reform? I mean, I don't have any tests, homework, or grades in debate. But, and my kids are doing, my one kid right now, I only have one. My kid's doing vastly better and more sophisticated schoolwork and learning way more sophisticated shit than he has ever learned in all of his other classes combined heretofore. So you don't need them. You need opportunities to succeed or fail, like actual competition or a real world thing. Falsology, you kind of got a point. There, when you say constraining the scope of TI to things that matter to them, it sounds like 8 slot TI, Dom, FI. No, because the difference is Dom, FI, 8 slot TI, they constrain the scope of TI to supporting their positions. Like, they don't actually use it in a deliberative way. They use it to support the deliberation they establish for their dominant function. Whereas with TI, DOM, FI, A slot. Their FI constrains the scope of the TI. So they're not always disinterested about everything. They are, they know they can only apply their disinterested calculus to a limited number of things. So they need to know where to apply it successfully to get objective calculations. But FI DOMs, they go, TI is always instrumental to my FI, which means if my TI consistency metric doesn't uphold my FI conclusion that I've deliberated out, then I'll just toss TI aside. Pretty talk about NI6, but I don't think I reached a good understanding. Can you go over it again quick? Well, like INTPs, for example, are what I call a double knowing type. And the reason for that is because, INFPs as well, but INTPs much more so than INFPs. The reason INTPs are more of a double knowing type is because their 6-slot NI is the same native aspect as their dominant TI and the same native aspect as their tool function NE. Whereas their 5th slot absolute value TE is the other native aspect. Now, their 3rd slot absolute value SI is the other native aspect. So 3rd slot SI is conscious and an absolute value and satisfying. So they're going to do a lot of SI knowing. But most of the things they're knowing about aren't conducive to using SI knowledge. So because their 6th slot is the same aspect as their dominant, they have an unusually cozy relationship with it. Whereas mine is more how it, sort of the natural way of it, which is that my 6th slot function is the other aspect than my dominant and my tool. So as a consequence, since my 5th is the same aspect, I'm super more value 5th and less value 6th. Whereas with INTPs, they less value 5th and more value 6th than the default, so to speak, because of the way the aspects play out. And because they also have 3rd slot SI, they're really a double knower. Now, in contrast, I'm not really a double interfacer, although you could say that 3rd and 6th are the two functions that both have kind of conscious expression external in the world. And so in that regard, everybody's can do both their 3rd and 6th, so they're double something. But the ones who are truly double, it's their aspect of their 6 matches up with their 1. And I'm not one such. So I'm not really a double interfacer. I'm a 1.5 bath interfacer. It's like I interface with FE, and if I have to, I interface with TE. I certainly don't apply any TE to my own life. Now, this applies with the NI double knowers as well. Their double knowing is external. They don't apply NI knowledge to their own life, and they don't like it when other people try to do that to them either. So you resent it when other people push 6-slot shit on you. You don't mind providing 6-slot shit when the world requires it, but you don't like being corrected in it. You don't like being told how to do it. You don't like, if you're going to have to do some TE, if I'm going to have to do some TE, I'd rather do it myself. Just figure it out myself and just leave me alone. I don't want any fucking interference. Let me just get it done. Can 2 ESFPs have an INTP baby? Well, my parents are ESTJ and ISFJ, and they had an ENTP baby. So I don't see why not. I have no idea why it is the case that somebody is a given type. Like, I don't know if it's genetic, if it's in utero hormones, if it's environmental factors, not hormones, that happen when you're still in uterus, if it's, the stress or lack of stress of the birth, if it's, some sort of environmental influences really early on in life. I am quite confident that you are your type by the time you're a year old at the latest, and probably sooner than that. I mean, having had a child and raised her from birth through adulthood, I can tell you, I was the same personality. She was the same personality when she was a little kid as she is now.
May I?
So, ready, Chandran? That was posited by Spacey, in fact, as a possible explanation. That, like, for example, my dad has NE, and so does my mom. And they both have SI. My mom has TI and FE. So my dad has TE and FI. So according to his theory, there's no way it could have had any SE and I, but it could have been any other type that didn't have SE in it. But that didn't prove. It proved not to be the case because it wasn't that long after that Spacey and I typed a whole family. There was a mother, a father, and 2 kids. They booked 4 hours worth of time. It only took us like 2 hours, 40 minutes, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, we typed all 4 of them. One of the kids broke that rule. So that's not it. I feel like maybe you're born with your conscious function stack you have, and then the order they're in depends on the environment and how often your environment makes you use what more becomes your Dhamma. That's not an outrageous speculation, but it's like at the end of the day, it seems to be just speculation. I have no good explanation for it. So I don't really like throwing out explanations, but I'll throw one out if I can think of one. That's a possibility. I don't know. Well, the one boy who didn't fit in was ENFJ, because everybody else in the family had FITE, I think, is how it worked out. 3 poops. Oh my goodness. This live stream has finally earned the paramount prize in all of culinary ratings. 3 Michelin poops. Okay, so maybe one of that kid's grandparents should have functioned, maybe, but then that's a different rule. Do I think intelligence is mostly genetic? I'll tell you this. I have 2 sensors as parents, but I also have 2 very intelligent sensors as parents. My dad's a very smart ESTJ. He has a PhD in philosophy. My mom is a very smart ISFJ, or was. She got her degree in biology from Berkeley and taught English and was a great writer and, a smart lady. What types are most likely to follow each of the alpha quadrotypes? Which types are most likely to follow them? You mean like alpha type lead, somebody else follow? Probably the supervisees. Probably ISTP would be most likely to follow ENTP if the circumstance required it. Probably the ESTP would be most likely to follow INTP. Is INTP ESTP supervisor? That doesn't make any sense. No. ENFP is ENTP supervisor. Huh? ENFP. Okay, so if INTP is ENFP supervisor, then ENFP would be most likely to follow him, presumably. You might say beneficiary type would be more likely to follow. ISTJ would follow everyone. So, but in this case, we're looking for the other direction around. Which one the alpha quadrant one supervises. What quadrant ESTJs? Well, they're in the same quadrant with the NFPs. I forget what it's called. It's either gamma or delta. I think it's gamma. What role does NE play in an INFJ? Well, can you sit down and take over for a second while I smoke a cigarette? Are you listening to something?
You want to go smoke a cigarette?
Yeah, could you sit here and take over for a minute?
Absolutely.
Thanks. Let's see if Rachel can answer that question. How do you experience extroverted intuition as an INFJ? You have that. Press that beer. I'll open another one.
Okay. It's a good question. What role does NE play in? I have to say, I admire NE. And ENTPs are able to bring out the NE in me. ENFPs a little bit, not as much though. I'm good, Zaylen Black. Thanks for asking. What do the quadras mean? It's groupings of the different socionics types. I would research socionics quadras if I were you.
Yeah, it's the 4 types that all share the same conscious functions but in a different order are called a quadra.
Quadra.
So, for example, ISTP, ESTP, ENFJ, and INFJ all share the same 4 functions: NI, SE, TI, and FE in different order.
Taking notes. PP is here with us. She is licking herself at the moment, her hind leg. I think she had a nice time outside today. So if FI DOMs make decisions based on FI and use TI to support their decision thereafter, then TI DOMs decide based on TI logic consistency and assign FI attachment likes, dislikes thereafter?
No, I don't think so. I think that they're instrumental in different ways. That, in fact, the FI is instrumental insofar as it basically says this is worth or not worth your TI attention. Like, not as though if you don't give it your TI attention, you're going to choose with your feelings, but rather if you don't give it your TI attention, you're not going to give it your attention at all. So it's just sort of a different relationship between the two regarding how they work instrumentally with each other.
I have a question.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a big chance that your conflictor is in? So in socionics, the conflictor type is in a different quadra.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So, like, my conflictor type is in the quadra with NTJs and SFPs. Your conflictor type is in the quadra with STJs and NFPs. Your conflictor type ESTJ.
Mm-hmm.
I think. Yeah.
Let's have fun, says Fenty Deluxe. And Louise Diazon, the INFJ boy next door, wants to see the cat. She's off again. Mike Hart, Eric, I programmed a socionics type. Socionics type relations calculator. It works flawlessly. I'm willing to sell it to you.
There's already a free one on Socionics, whatever.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Eric Moore, I have an ENFP friend and we can go back and forth with our NE for an hour. An hour is very specific. Have you timed it before?
In dog years. It's an hour in dog years.
Whoa.
It's,
That's slow.
23 minutes, I think.
23 minutes. Okay, so that's fast.
Yeah. Well, they're reverse dogs.
That's cool. Noah McFarlane. My mom, pretty sure she is ESFJs, a lot of them are, is trying to live vicariously through her kids and is unashamed of it. How should I deal with that? What type are you?
Let her, if she's not being controlling, if she's just trying to be a cheerleader / interested in knowing shit, then let her.
Yeah, that's good advice. Mike Hart says his socionics thing is better. Mine is better, specifically, is what he said.
I mean, it either successfully tells you what the intertype relation is or it doesn't. It's not, it can't, I mean, what, did you provide some additional level of information or what?
That's a good question to ask as well. She isn't controlling, but applies pressure to me to do things I don't want to do, says Noah McFarlane.
Like go to family events and shit like that?
That sounds about right.
ESFJs can compromise. Show up for a few minutes, make your appearance, go do your thing. Just tell them in advance a little bit. Remember, they're NI-polar, so just work their experience.
He says, he continues, because she said my life will suck if I don't.
Well, she's being an ESFJ saying, don't hole up in your room and, you keep in touch with everybody or else they'll forget you because everybody's NI-polar like me.
Louis Dizon is an inside of his head. I can relate to that. I do that with reading. And then with reading. And then when I write, I guess it comes out. I see it in the world though. But when I'm with ENTPs, it shows the most. Hey, Mike Hart. My mom is an ESFJ and she's always wanting me to FELOL. Poopy meme. Very frustrating. Indeed it is. LOL, thanks. I try to work that angle, I guess. Noah McFarlane likes what you had to say, Eric.
Noah, you know what time it is. It's baking time. We're going to go in. We're going to greet everybody. We're going to smile. We're going to fake it till we make it.
They're great at Christmas parties. You want to have a ESFJ at some sort of holiday Christmas party.
You know what you need to do, Noah? You know what you need to do? You need to kill them with what? It rhymes with mindness. It's kindness. You need to kill them with kindness. Okay?
I do.
That's the solution. If you don't want to go to this party, just go there and kill them with kindness. I said I don't want to go, not that I don't want to kill them with unkindness. Meanwhile, my ENFP mother's always chilling, smoking weed, and being cool, like me. Wow, yeah.
Yeah, Ian. I think INTPs and ENFPs get along well, right?
INTPs and ENFPs?
Yeah.
Yeah, probably. MT, that was probably a better guess. I usually show up and sit awkwardly with people I don't know. You should do next time. Try to out ESFJ your mom. Walk in and go, hey, it's me, Noah, Betty, you're Betty, right? It's been a long time since I've seen you.
Who's that again?
This is Isaiah Root.
That's what type.
Oh, he's an INTP, but I wanted to act like an ESFJ or an ENFJ.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking ENFJ at first, but then it turned into an ESFJ.
How does ENTP humor differ from ENFP humor? It's not necessarily massively different. I've joked around with ENFPs and bounced back and forth without really noting any massive difference. Except I would say, of course, no offense, but ENFPs are a little bit funnier.
I have to agree. Would you say that Billy Crystal is an ENTP? He's typed like that a lot.
NFJ. Now, what's his name? That guy who's married to Katy Perry. He's an ENFP.
Yeah, he is. Russell Brand.
He's such an ENFP. And
he's in that movie, Forgetting Sarah Marshall, actually.
Is he?
Yeah, it's really funny.
See, it's like he's got too much moisture to be funny, is what it boils down to. It's like he's always wanting to veer into serious earnestness or something.
Yeah.
It's just like, no, dude. I'm going to write an 8-minute rock ballad about not knowing my type and then never sing it. INFP? People typing Russell Brand as ENFJ? Ridiculous.
Oh my God, stop it. What is the world coming to?
I know. What attitude does each type kill with? ENFP humor. ESTJ ball busting. ESTP like just the presumption of doing, I guess. FE, they kill him with kindness. ESFJ. ENFJ kills him with memory wipe. Yeah, like that. Isaiah Rude. Hey there, Fran. You're looking a little glum. You know what I said to myself this morning? I want you to try saying it. Today, I choose poi. Oh, I'm sorry, joy.
Can I have something to say about an ESFJ?
Yes, you can.
J-Lo is actually going to be hosting SNL tonight, and she is directing, or actually it's tomorrow night. Sorry about that, but
It's
yeah.
Jennifer Lawrence. No?
J-Lo. J-Lo is in the directing seat. She went out with Michael Lorne.
Is her name Jennifer Lawrence?
I'm sorry, Jennifer Lopez.
Lopez. Oh, that J-Lo.
Yes, that J-Lo.
I'm sort of familiar with Tyler, the creator. You know, I used to have a band called J-Lo Row, which stood for Jesus Loves Rosemead.
Oh, he does.
He does love Rosemead.
Yeah, I like that street too.
Yeah, it's a city too. The city.
Where's the
street
city?
is this. The street is the main street. Goes down the middle of the city. That's why it's called Rosemead.
Where's the city?
2 cities south of here. Did you see the SNL Tulsi Gabbard character? No, I did not.
Mm-mm. Haven't watched SNL for a while. I saw it on Instagram and this website that I watch. I do watch it. Lainey Gossip.
Time for bong rips. Yes, now is the time that we smoke bong rips here on Talking with Famous People. Because our motto around here is when it comes to smoking bong rips, never, never, never quit. It says right there. Never, never, never quit. Okay? We are not done smoking bong rips. Never quit.
So Tyler, the creator, actually has a song called Yonkers.
So, like, here's one difference. I made this video one time. It was a joke. Of course, Kimberly didn't think it was funny, but I thought it was funny. Where I said to Kimberly one day, "Give me the, I've come down with retardation. I hope you still love me. I'm still a real person." You know, and then she was like, "Stop there." So, like, listen, Kimberly, I may be the one who's retarded, but you're the one who's being dumb. And I thought it was hilarious. I don't know. I just put it up on the internet, of course. And boy, the FI firestorm. People would think I was making fun of retarded people or something. Oh, wait. I mean, I was empowering them. I came up with their great slogan. I may be the one who's retarded, but you're the one who's being dumb. Is an anti-bullying slogan for the ages. For sure. Hamone has a story. So I don't think ENFPs would make that mistake. If they made that joke, they'd probably be like, "Oh, Jesus, I'm going hardcore here." It didn't even occur to me that anybody would say anything about it when I put it out. I just thought it was funny.
I think Tyler can be an ENFP, possibly, but if you don't think that he is, then he could possibly be an ENTP. I don't know him that well, honestly.
And the thing is, ENFPs, maybe even INFPs, I had some FI user accuse me on the video of putting down retarded people to make myself feel better. Now, it's like, that's so strange because that's obviously what I in no sane world would anybody think that's what I was doing. Right? I thought it was a funny joke to pretend as though I had caught retardation from some sort of virus, and that I was explaining to my significant other that now I was retarded and I expected her to still love me the same because I was still a real person.
That's a great line.
It's taken from, actually, there was this episode of Facts of Life that me and all my friends had seen at some point when we were kids. And in this episode of Facts of Life, Blair and the other girls in Facts of Life There's a new girl introduced to this situation, and guess what? She's retarded.
No.
Yes, she is. And at some point in the episode, Blair keeps treating her like a little kid, and she says, "Stop it, Blair. I'm a real person, Blair." Maybe she was deaf. I don't know. I'm a real person, Blair. And my friends and I always thought that we'd say that to each other, like, "You're a real person, Blair," when they do something stupid. So,
oh yeah.
that's what I got that from. When I was about 2, my dad and uncle had the right idea to dress and talk as retards Halloween night. They were talking all the time and such my mom was answering the door for the trick-or-treaters. All the FI types left the chat. Anyone else notice?
Oh, that's funny.
Oh no! Oh Ambo, no!
That is an oh no.
Oh no!
That's an extroverted cringe right there.
Oh
yeah. Ooh.
Ouch.
Yeah, that's a lesson. Ooh.
Abort!
Yeah. This didn't happen. My name is Oprah Winfrey if you're going to sue.
Chris Chapman, you're not an FI type. You're an FE type. You're an ENTP, right? Never ever say never ever or name your son Trevor. Good point. Trevor never stops talking about the weather or not. Trevor talked about the weather. We will never know. Good point.
I knew this guy whose name was Trevor, and he was on a comedy show, like The Whitest Kids You Know. He was the only Trevor that I thought was funny. He was actually funny. Mm-hmm. They were funny. Sex Robot.
There's only one funny Trevor in the world. I'm glad I'm not Trevor. That's already been used up. Rachel, do you think Oprah's a fraud?
Yes.
You struck a vein of ore there, by the way. Yes, she does. I knew the answer to that. The fact that I knew the answer to that? Okay. I'm not, but since you offends my sensibilities, I have 3 mentally disabled uncles. I can just tune it out usually. Yeah, I mean that's the risk you make. It's the risk you take when you make jokes about mentally disabled people is that other people have them in their family and stuff, and they're like, "Hey, fuck you." But everybody's like that. For example, Horse Mumbler the other day was upset because of my Native American joke. I guess he's Native American. It's like he laughs at all my other jokes. He'd laugh at my retard jokes, but he wouldn't laugh at my Native American jokes, right? And Zaylen Black would laugh at my Native American jokes, but it's just everybody's got their soft spot. I've got my soft spots too, where I don't like that joke because I don't like what it's joking about. But I respect the fact that other people probably do find it funny,
And I respect the fact that other people find Oprah inspiring. I actually I'm going to throw out a tip for her. If she wants to draw in some younger kids for her magazine for younger generations, have her be on the cover seasonally for her magazine so that people are like, oh yeah, it's the O. But then have other younger celebrities, YouTubers, sports people.
There drives the young people wild.
Aesthetic stuff.
It's mostly the pages of Tiger Beat magazine have been me the last couple of years. Mostly all been me. What's interesting also, there have been very few stories or information at all about beating tigers in that magazine. Which type is most effective pulling the trigger? ESTP.
Yeah, LOL at Eric Moore.
Well, Noah McFarlane, my presidential campaign is non-active at the moment. Thank you, Isaiah Rude. Thank you. Appreciate that. MC Drama Bear, fair point, but I'm not going to anywhere. Not at the moment. I did change the water, I don't know, less than a week ago. Rachel, do you ever change the water?
No.
No. So neither of us seem to really care very much.
If I If I had the
Bottle
pipe cleaner,
bottle brush,
bottle brush, and then and soap. But it is a laborious task.
Hambone. Listen. He was not sucking my dick. He's right. It is a brilliant idea. If he had said like my dad did, like moving the laundry when the dryer broke out to the patio to dry in the sun was a brilliant idea, then you'd have a point. You get higher from a clean bong? Says who? Says who you get higher from a clean bong?
Yes, Poopy Main. INFJ and INTJ is a good pairing. Yes. As a friend. Yes.
What about as a lover?
No.
Why do you suppose that is, Rachel?
There's no feelings.
No feelings.
Mm-mm.
My girl is in Barcelona, Erica. I'm lonely. Well, that's why God invented your hand and...
Plane tickets. You're an ENFP.
No. Your hand and incognito. Incognito window.
That's so boring.
I've never met an INFJ in real life. Well, you're missing out. Oh. Well, then you never met anybody in real life. This doesn't count as real life.
Cyanide, huh? Have you thought about yourself first class? Is that why you're giving the advice? MT Jill.
Nothing gets rid of all the viruses and bacteria like cyanide.
Benti Delic is going to use a picture of you. Aww. Louisiana must be happy. Yay. She's asleeping.
Hello, my name is Pee-Pee. I'm Eric's cat. I'm a little camera shy. I don't want my face on the camera. That's why you can't see my mouth moving, but it is I, Pee-Pee, talking. Okay, so I'm going to use a picture of you, Eric. For what? I wonder what he wants to use a picture of you for, Eric. I don't know, Pee-Pee. Anyhow, I'm here to tell you guys a little bit about me. I've got a lot of fan mail. People mail me it in the snail mail. I got a lot of snail mail, fan mail. Noah McFarlane would like to change his name to Mike Oxlong. Because he's long as an ox, obviously, Fenty Deluxe. Sheesh. I'm a cat, if I can know that. Anyhow, you can probably see my two ears. They're the things that I'm using to hear what you are reading in the live chat, what you are writing in the live chat. I'm also an ISFP, Poopy Main. Not me. I'm an ISFP. Well, you haven't really heard me talk a lot before because I have polar NE. I'm not very verbal. I don't have a lot of ideas, but I am, I'm happy the way I am. I too many words. Talk is cheap.
Oh my God.
Yes, I can talk. I'm gender. I'm a female cat. Nobody gendered me. I gendered myself. I'm obviously a female cat. I got a vagina. My cat vagina speaks the word woman loudly. Can you teach a sociopath empathy? How about a psychopath? Well, this is a psycho cat who lives here. It's a great cat. Still got his testicles. Never got fixed. Apparently stray, feral, as they say. Comes and tries to eat my food. I'm like, fuck you. Can you teach a sociopath empathy? How about a psychopath? Well, according to psychology, the answer is no.
Yeah, you can't teach someone who doesn't want to be taught.
Well, I mean, like, there's a native reflexive empathy, that is to say, a revulsion to suffering. If somebody doesn't experience that at all, or if they laugh at suffering, for example,
Yeah.
think it's amusing, then I don't know how you can teach them to. You can't teach something that ought to be reflexive. For example, like when I was a kid, I tried to shoot birds with my wrist router all the time. Finally, I shot a bird, and I felt really bad when I saw it on the ground, all like tweet, tweet, a little bit of blood on it and shit. And I never shot at any more birds after that.
I know the feeling.
Like, for sure, I would never have been able to. I've never been able to stand any kind of animal cruelty at all. I never had any inclination to be cruel to animals at all. I did kill some bugs and stuff as a kid. I used to experiment on bees and other insects by putting them in the freezer and shit. But even that started to kind of make me feel bad after a little while, and I stopped doing it.
You're human. I mean, like, that's a very human experience. I used to burn bugs. And I used to growing up, our first like live animal besides a fish was a tortoise. And the tortoise just like it was under a heat lamp the whole time and would poop just like constantly throughout the day. And the tank was constantly smelling of shit in our room with like basically no ventilation. No one was cleaning it. It wasn't like really my tortoise, but I couldn't sleep with the smell anymore. So I dumped a whole bunch of soap on him one time.
And he died.
No, he lived right after that. No, it was no big deal. I was just like, you're so fucking smelly and no one's doing anything here. Soap.
Psychopath means you're born that way. Sociopath means you were made into it. That's one explanation. I've also heard that psychopath refers to somebody who both lacks empathy and has something antisocial about them, whereas sociopath just lacks empathy. But I don't know. I've also heard they're the same thing. There's not really any difference. Empathy is suffering alongside of somebody with, I guess, the same kind of suffering, whereas sympathy is feeling bad because yourself or something. I don't know.
Empathy is FI. I don't know about that.
I mean, I think that reflexive empathy is FI, but it just goes to show you that everybody is necessarily using all their functions. Empathy is FI. Like if I feel a reflexive revulsion or a distaste for viewing suffering, or if suffering imprints heavily on me, like it does. If I see something really sad in a movie, it's going to stick with me for a long time, and it's gonna suck, you know. It's like I have to process that shit, even if it's fake. There was a show I watched not that long ago in Laverne, where one of the characters is a domestic violence guy who punches his wife in the show, and that scene really stuck with me and bothered me.
Who's watching that shit?
It was Kimberly who was watching it. It was called.
Who's watching that shit? Why is that
it's
your?
Called
Why
Home Fires.
Why do you want that to be your thing to watch?
Well, I mean, it wasn't explicitly about that. It was like a mini series about people who stayed in Britain during World War II, which was mostly women, and the men who stayed behind, it was because they had some sort of like medical problem that prevented them from fighting in the war or something like that, or they were too old or too young. So in general, I get Mike Hart, what she's saying. Why would you want to watch a show that's all about people getting domestic violence? But that was not actually what the show was all about.
OMG. I'm sure it wasn't, but like...
It was one scene that bothered me a lot, and it stuck with me. And the thing is, that represents FI. Of course it's FI. Everybody has FI. The question is, how much are you attending to it, and in what contexts? So, for example, when asked the question, or empathy equals FI, what am I using to attend to that question? TI, and I'm saying, okay, well, TI and SI. My initial thought is, like, what's wrong with that, if there is anything? But my SI prompted me to remind me. It said basically, you've already concluded that yes, empathy is FI. That's why it's not morality.
I feel like I don't, as an INFJ, I don't understand FI as well as a lot of people, I feel, honestly. Like, I'm going to say this, like, ENFP, like, FI, I really don't get. Like, I don't get it. How can you just,
it's not just the order dictates how frequent, it dictates in which context. So, for example, for me, FI occurs and appears when it reaches a certain critical mass. I'm not conscious of it. Like, if something bothers me, I won't notice it at all, really, until all of a sudden I do,
True.
And
so it hits you later?
Well, it's very difficult for me to really use FI. For example, it took me until this past year to realize that FI things for me are things that I don't feel any need or desire or willingness even to justify. So, for example, one thing that was a point of conflict in my last relationship was talking shit about my family, basically, and trying to revise my personal history so that it was more shitty than it actually was, I guess.
To make her feel better?
I guess. I don't know why. Who knows why? She likes to try to do that. And I basically said, no, don't do that. You can't do that. I'm not going to let you do that. You better stop that. And I'm not going to justify it. And I realized, oh, this is FI.
Same pain as I do.
Eric, why does the polar attitude reside with the seventh slot necessarily? Why not eighth? Why not fifth? Why must it be seventh, in your opinion? Good question. And the reason is because your weakest absolute value is necessarily worse than your weakest instrumental value. 7 is your weakest absolute value. But the other explanation is it's determined by the 2. So because your tool function is the other kind of the same function. So, for example, FI is a deliberation function, TI is a deliberation function. I have TI as a tool function. That means every time I approach a problem, I use this form of deliberation. And it's utilitarian, which means that I have to use it to some other outcome. But the outcomes that I use it to are extroverted feeling, other people's perceptions, and introverted intuition, the truth. And so, as a consequence, the last prioritized absolute value, which is FI, not only runs directly afoul of me using TI as a tool function because TI requires me to use disinterested calculus, but it also potentially runs afoul of both other absolute values. So it's constantly in conflict with either the utility of the tool function, the absolute value of the third function, or the absolute value of the fifth function. I have a document that's called something like Restoring America's Citizen Democracy, I think is what it's called. I will have to find a link for it.
Yeah.
No, sorry, you go ahead, Rachel.
No, Tim, I want to see, like, if this, like, seems to be accurate. What?
True, Chris Chapman. Go ahead.
I do too. Okay, so
I just wanted to say true to what Chris Chapman said there.
From what I can tell, FI lives in its own reality no matter what. Tim. So when I first read that sentence, I got like this, like, ew, lives in its own reality? What the fuck does that even mean? Does any other INFJ feel that way? Because, like, sometimes it's just too much for me.
Eric, should there be a reason for being in love with someone? Does it mean that if you can't think of a reason why you're in love, that it's invalid and you're not in love at all? Okay, so Mm.
Mm.
No. Historically, the answer is no, there doesn't have to be a reason, or yes, and the reason is always the same. If I'm in a relationship with somebody, my words have always heretofore said, I'm in a relationship with this person, therefore I love this person, I am in love with this person. As I suspect, most everybody who's been in multiple serious relationships has probably used the same language with those previous relationships that have failed, you know? Like, it shouldn't come as any surprise that I told my first wife that I loved her. Charles, she was my wife. Except I didn't even like her. I actually disliked her. And at the time, I was not just bipolar, but young. So I thought that was irrelevant in the decision making process. That's really bad, FI, right? So, did I need a reason for being in love? The answer was I didn't know what it was to be in love at all, obviously. I thought it was just something you said to somebody who you were with because that's what you said. And that people didn't understand that love wasn't a state of being, it was a behavior. And that was just because people were dumb. And they had to turn this thing, which is basically just behaving properly or lovingly towards other people in your life that were important to you. They tried to turn that thing into this static symbol when it was never actually that. There was no such thing as love as a feeling per se. That doesn't even make any sense. What is that? And those are all that sort of short shit I always thought about love. But should there be a reason for being in love with somebody? I mean, when you're being in love with somebody it's like you need to see them. It's like you miss them, you know.
Yes.
You need to have contact with them frequently. You become like a fire. If you're out camping in the wilderness and if you're on Naked and Afraid, you got a big fire and you're in a cold weather situation, okay? You're fine if you by the fire. You start getting too cold, you walk away from the fire. And then, so you have to make short jaunts out into the world to get your food, to gather your grasses or firewood or rabbits or whatever. And you gotta go back to the fire because you're getting too cold. That's what it's like being in love, is that
That's nice, actually. Going for an ENTP to use the notion of fire, it's pretty big.
that's what it is. Eric, I'm in love with your legends. Thanks, Hambone. INFJs act
nice.
wise, but ENFPs are wise. True, yes or no? ENFPs are wise? Wisdom comes with development, not with type.
True.
Eric, what's the rarest type? Probably. I mean, I don't have any real good reason to conclude any solid answer to this. From my own experience as a typist, that's not a good thing to go on because by that experience, ESFJs are the rarest. They never get themselves typed. Why? Because they're bipolar. They don't give a fuck.
I think location has something to do with it too. Like, I feel like I grew up around ESFPs, ENTJs, ESFJs. There are a lot. Some ENFJs put more money.
I mean, I don't encounter very many ENTPs. I don't encounter very many INFJs. My friend Corey, he and I didn't know each other until after high school when I had a large group of friends from high school, and he encountered that large group of friends and I met him at some party or whatever. And we quite quickly became much tighter friends than I was with any of this large group of friends I'd had over high school. And the reason is, as far as I can tell, he was the first intuitive, really, that I mean, like real intuitive. I mean, I'm pretty sure probably most of my high school friends, if not all of them, were all sensors.
Mm-hmm.
They were smart sensors. They were interesting. They were fun sensors. You know, they weren't. They weren't. They were good people, but I ran out of shit to talk about with them. You know, it's like there wasn't any. There just wasn't enough intuition to get me to really fucking bond with anybody, right? So then I met this INFJ dude. He and I became fast friends, and wasn't super long until we were living in the same house. You know, we were housemates. FI can tease out the threads that form general feeling states. Why do I like to dislike this thing? Well, it's because of the quality I experienced. That's a possibility, Jeff. I would also say this about Flogic or FI logic, which is, let's say I've got multiple conflicting FI considerations. Like, I've got a friend who's doing something that's bugging me. He has a tick of some sort, a verbal tick. He's not realizing he's doing it. He says, you know, after every sentence, starting to bug. But I also don't want to hurt his feelings. And I can see that Jenny over there is also trying to be bugged by it, but it's making her feel bad, not mad. And I'm worried about her feelings too. And I need to make sure that if I do check Bob on it and say, you know, stop doing that, it's annoying, that I do in a way that's very protective of his feelings, because both his feelings and her feelings are considered in this factor. On the other hand, there's Joshua over there. I can tell he's mad and he wants to see Bob get schooled a little bit. So his feelings are in play too. You might say, well, that's an FE thing. Not really. It's not. It's an FI thing. It's an FI calculation. How can I tell my friend this thing that I need to tell him that might be harsh, but I don't want to hurt his feelings at all? I can tell his feelings are going to be hurt.
It's tough.
Does Rachel hate me now after my jokes about SE Dom women wanting me yesterday? I don't think so.
No.
SE Dom women wanting? Why would that bother Rachel? Watch people flock towards ISFP self-typing. I would like for you to commence community-wide social experiment through your YouTube platform. Most people self-type INFJ, obviously, and flip the table on them and call ISFPs the rarest. I mean, I actually don't want to encourage people to get their types wrong at all. I would say, yeah, that's according to my little hypothesis. But, no, this hypothesis predates this relationship, and it seems to apply in this one too. So, yeah, of course. Sorry, am I bogarting? I'm bogarting the fuck out of this, aren't I? The end is clogged. I'm really fucking this up left and right. You said SE Dom FESINENI. What? Eric, it's better to have fewer friends. It depends on your period of life, really. I don't need a lot of friends, but I must say right now, I'm feeling kind of IRL friendless. I have this great desire to go see Corey and his wife and have them meet Rachel and try to sort of put that relationship back together a little bit. I heard something about NE and SE being more sexually active and having more sexual desires than SI and NI. What do you think about that? I mean, it makes sense that action types would be action-y, which includes sexual, I suppose. But, you know, it's like, yeah, SI is not a very strong libido, probably. NI is different because it got SE in the fourth, and it's an absolute value. Absolute value of SE and fourth expresses through sex in one sense, but it's not like, I mean, I think they like physical, you know. I think that could depend on the connection they have with their partner too. Yeah, it would. It definitely does. Because INFJs, the thing they're really struggling to do in life is to find a situation where it supports them in every instance when they choose to deviate from FE in favor of something else. Because INFJ wants to be liberated to some extent from this perception management tool function. They see it as tiresome ultimately, and it gets more tiresome over time as they start to see the ease with which people can be directed in some direction or another simply by affirming them. You know, it grows. They find it hollow, and so as a consequence, they need to be with somebody or in an environment. In this case, I would say Rachel needs to be with, what she gets from being with me in part is somebody who goes, yeah, fuck them. You know, INFJ doesn't need to hear anything about be nice or make sure that you are careful with the other person's feelings or meowity meow or meowity meow. And they don't need to hear anything about how, oh, go back to your tool function. Go back. Hey, I thought you were nice. Hey, I thought you were sweet. Go back to your tool function. Stop being real with me.
Oh my gosh, Noah explained it so well.
I don't need to hear any of that shit. What they need to hear is, oh, you're pissed and you don't like this shit? More power to you. You know?
No.
You know, bring the Schoolage all you want, baby. You got me in your corner. And there needs to be, what do I wish I was better at? And what does Rachel wish she was better at as an INFJ? Well, okay, as an INFJ, what do I wish I was better at? Better at. I wish I was better at SE. I mean, I wish I was more willful at SE follow through stuff. But of course, it's kind of a silly thing to say because there's a trade off. I'd necessarily be less ideationally robust if I had better follow through. Just the two things are, you know, flip sides of the coin.
Well, you are perfect, like Benji Deluxe says. And I would say for me, I wish that I could maintain more FE over long periods of time, but
I'm going to change my answer based on what Benji Deluxe said. SI is what I wish I were better at. Specifically, I wish I were better at remembering my songs.
That's fair.
That's a very concrete answer. I wish I were better at remembering my songs and remembering the words and the chords. What up, G? Just chilling, terrorizing egos. That's great. That's some pimping talk there, Christian Prism.
Yeah.
Did you want this?
Well, I'll have after. Actually, just do your thing. It don't matter nothing to me.
The thing is, if you're real and non-adversarial with an INFJ, you kind of leave them defenseless. Because if you're real and non-adversarial with them, they have trouble maintaining an adversarial approach to you.
Yeah. I value harmony. Do.
How can a person be done with another person, even when you know the person isn't the nicest, etc.? The person hasn't wronged me, but my kids. I can't write her off. I mean, historically, I've been more in that camp. I've said uh, infinite second chances. I want the person to continue to engage with me until they see that I am right and they change their ways or something. There's some people you just can't do it with. It's just ridiculous. You know, I've had to door slam a few people. Not very many, but like, for example, Chloe, who destroyed the Raw channel, has attempted to contact me since with like, I'm so sorry or whatever. I don't give a fuck if you're sorry. Go fuck yourself. She had a billion opportunities prior to actually killing the channel. So many people told her over and over again, threatened her and tried to prevent her from doing it and all kinds of shit. So fuck your apologies now. It's like she had all those second chances.
That's the truth right there.
And she shit on them all. Hambone, you are in the right place. There's no shame. Welcome to Anal Records Anonymous. No, Spacey's not door slammed. He's kind of, no, in fact, we exchanged texts not that long ago when he's like, hey, where's my headphones? And I'm like, why do you want to mail them someplace else? He's like, no, I just want my shit. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, you know, I had him in the car for a little while because I was going to take him to the post office and mail them. But then I realized I didn't have the phone with the address on it, so I had to bring them back here. Now they're back in the house. And so I will take them to the post office and mail them next week sometime. So, Hambone, let me tell you, here at Anal Records Anonymous, we know that every day is a struggle. If you've got a large, possibly oddly shaped object up your ass and you're trying to do other things like go to work or play baseball, it can be not just uncomfortable, it can be downright dangerous.
Downright.
Hambone called you a normie. Not sure what that means, but seems derogatory. Insults usually indicate being threatened in some way. Oh, I don't know about that, Mike Hart. I insult people lots of times and I'm not threatened by them. Normie probably is derogatory. Unless he's saying you're a small norm. Like your name is Norm, for example. You're a smaller one. 4/27. April 27. 27th of April. The fourth month of the year, the 27th day of the month. That's my birthday. A normie. How would we distinguish a normie from an abnormie?
I'm a normie.
If normie is derogatory, is abnormie complimentary? I don't get how TI users can conceive beauty. TI has nothing to do with beauty. NI has to do with beauty. How does TE express itself in an INFJ? How to improve it? Give up on improving it. Polar's polar. You're not gonna fix it. You're not gonna meow. Like Rachel struggles with the drain in the shower. Is it closed? Is it open?
Yeah. I can't get it to go. I tried so many times.
You know, I came in earlier tonight. I turned on the TV. She's like, I was trying to get that to work while you were gone. You know, it's not really that hard, but that's fine. That's just adorable TE Polar. ISFJ wants you to pledge allegiance and will give you small loyalty tests constantly. That's not my experience with ISFJ. But I guess my experience with ISFJ was with somebody with a lot of defenses. Or not that relatable to someone like him or something. I think it's kind of synonymous with basic.
Hi, Pee-Pee.
I don't think normie is synonymous with basic. I'd say normie is synonymous with
Starbucks.
Ideationally inert. Ideationally inert, which is, of course, something that we came up with earlier because Rachel was asking me, using her extroverted intuition, as I pointed at the time. She said, "What do you think the opposite of art is explosive is?" We've been watching Naruto. How do you make this thing go away? The PP made pop up.
Oh,
no. What is this?
That's a good question. PP, what you doing over there, girl?
What is this? I want this to go away. Close this thing.
Aw, PP, you make my life.
You make me so very stupid. I don't want it there either. I want it away. Go away. How do I get rid of this thing? Toggle device toolbar. Toggle your ass. I'm currently toggling your ass. Can you tell that it's being toggled on and off right now? It is. If you can't tell, you're not paying enough attention.
The PNP.
How the fuck do I close this thing?
Wait.
What is it?
That's coding stuff. Oh, God. Go to the corner over there. Binary.
Which corner? This one?
Yeah.
Hide console drawer.
I wish I could help you with that.
Fucking goddamn it, Phoebe. Fuck this shit up. How do you close this window thing? This like coder
conflict relationship.
This coder thing or whatever.
I'm sorry, PP. I know. You don't like that.
It like shows you the code of the page and shit.
Yeah.
How do you close that thing? What's this?
Close
dev tools. Thank the fucking Lord. Wow, those dev tools were a problem for me. Press F12, says the wise guy one. Well, most annoying ESFP teenage girls? Possibly. I will argue that ESFJs are less able to really appreciate beauty. True, as are ESTJs. They've got terrible taste in art because they have an bipolar. Watch Vinland Saga. That's 11 out of 10. Yeah, basic. GTFOH. Let's get the fun out of here.
I like that.
Who's the most annoying type? Anybody who's being super annoying. Usually something is only art if they have SI familiarity with it. That's true for NI-polar.
Got me, guys.
ESF, no MT. No MT. Arrogant ISTJ. Nigga, you can't sit there and say my own hot take after Eric just said NI is most closely related to VGs. Oh. I beg to differ from Jack. Ooh, that explains why my dad can stand watching dog shit movies. If TI doms use FI to determine if something is worth their TI attention, then how exactly do FI doms use TI? Does something need to meet TI criteria before they attach to it? No. They're already attached to it. They use TI to justify it to other people, to make it communicatively defensible and not just authentically defensible. Whereas TI doms say, here are the sort of things that I'm going to actually check to see if they're legitimate or not. And I'm not going to check those things because they don't matter. Also, FI is useful for them in the sense like they put themselves in another person's shoes as a means of fully attaining a consistency calculus, but that's not determinate in the question. the TI consistency is determinate. My dad's a boomer. He's an ESTJ, but my mom was never an ESTJ. She was an ISFJ. ESTJs are not only annoying to NIDOMs. I mean, ESTJs are a challenge for me too. Speaking of ESTJs, I got to go in and put my mom to bed. And it's about time to end the stream. So thanks very much for being here. Don't forget to eat plenty of cheese. If you do, then get on your knees and beg forgiveness for your failure to eat enough cheese.